Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Beyond Influence. My name is Kwame Appiah. Obviously, you've heard my voice way too many times. You might be getting tired of it, but I'm very excited for today's episode because I'm joined by a very special co-host. I'm going to pass it off to you, Lauren. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'd love to. I'm Lauren Phillips. I'm the creator acquisition strategist at Mavely, where I work to connect with creators and build tailored programs to help them test and grow on the platform.
Love that. It almost feels like that was the perfect little intro if we were on stage and introducing Lauren. So it fits the build. But with that being said, we also have a very special guest with us today. I actually have been obviously in a lot of her content for the last couple of days, but our CMO has as well. And he really loves the content and the way that she displays all the exciting things and the way that she basically just like her brand is just awesome, fun, exciting. So we love that about her. But today we are joined by Coco Mocoe.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. I'm just we're gonna softball into this. We're gonna have a good time with it. So Coco, where are you right now?
I am in Puerto Vallarta. I hope I said that right, Mexico, for a wedding. So I was so excited to do this interview though. So I packed anyone watching the video version. I packed my microphone in my suitcase. So yeah.
Lovely. And so when are you there till?
Till Sunday. Yeah. So I'm here for 5 days and it's so nice. It's all inclusive.
Lovely. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, in that case, it looks like you're having a good time. You said you just got back from the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my hair's wet.
For anyone watching the video version as well. So Coco's having a good time. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, despite all the fun that you're having. You have a pink mic. I think
yes.
My vision's a little blurry, but yes, I feel like my wife would love that. My wife's the pink queen, or so the internet has dubbed her. So yeah.
Yes, it's on Amazon if she wants it, but yeah.
Sweet. Well, so getting into things, Coco, obviously you've had quite the journey becoming a creator. And so want to just kind of start off with where it all began. You seem to have a history even prior to, being out and being the face itself. You've been in the multimedia world for a long time. So I'd love to know kind of just the beginning phases.
Yeah, I have such an interesting story because I feel like things happened kind of serendipitously for me, but I studied marketing at San Diego State, and I always say I would have gone into marketing for a lawnmower company. I didn't care. I just wanted to get into it. I just loved it. Growing up, I was obsessed with the internet and MySpace and why people's attention went to certain things. And then I, after college, was just working at a hair salon as the person that greets people when they walk in the door. And then I saw a Craigslist ad for a marketing job and I was like, oh my God. And I'm from LA. So I was like, okay, it's in LA. I need to apply. And they didn't say what the company name is. And it sounds sketchy, but I was like, you know what? I just am going to go for it. And it ended up being this place called Famous Birthdays, which is honestly, I can't say enough good things because it's what got my foot in the door at entertainment marketing. We were it's a website for it's very hot pink and kind of catered to Gen Z, now Gen Alpha. And so we were the only ones interviewing Musical.ly stars, which turned into TikTok stars. And from there, I produced a couple viral videos, which I guess we could probably get into with some of the later questions. But yeah, I produced a couple viral videos with TikTokers. And then from there, I got scouted to then go over to BuzzFeed. And I was at BuzzFeed for almost 4 years, building out their TikTok, which then became just short form, as Reels got invented and Shorts and Snapchat Spotlight and all that. And then I eventually, I never was on content at BuzzFeed. I never put myself on camera. And then on my lunch break, I just started my own TikTok and would once I started doing trend predictions, marketing videos. I didn't know that many people cared about marketing, but they just went super viral. And I became known as the trend predictor on TikTok. And then after a while of that, I just was able to now do content full time. So that's kind of my journey. It kind of happened, I always loved it, but it also happened accidentally. I felt like the stars just kept aligning for me.
I feel like sometimes that's the best way where things happen, where it's completely
Yeah.
unplanned and everything happens for a
Hmm.
reason. But personally, I'm a huge fan of your content and your trend predictions. Is there anything that you would say, like, as you've been really honing into those trend predictions, anything that's like really surprised you?
Yeah, oh, that's a good question. I feel like people always ask me like what did I get accurate? But like I love things that do shock me. I am very fascinated right now. Like something that I think is shocking to me, but also shocking when I tell people in the marketing world. One trend that we're seeing rise is Gen Alpha. So they're in like middle school now. They're like the ones under Gen Z. They're like obsessed with celebrities that are like avatars. So like Roblox characters, like usernames, and the data to back it up is the founder of Famous Birthdays, Evan Britton. He's like such a good follow on LinkedIn. If you guys follow him, he always posts about like what names are trending. So like what TikTokers are getting famous and stuff. But he posted on LinkedIn how Gen Alpha is searching Roblox usernames like more than any other like there so some of the profiles on Famous Birthdays now are like Roblox like avatars. So like Gen Alpha celebrities, they don't even know what they look like. Like it's going to be, but that was always that was shocking to me because I just think it's so interesting that the next wave of celebrities are like going to be like Sims characters or like avatars. Like we might not know what they actually look like.
That is super cool. I mean, it's so dynamic the way that social media evolves, right? Like every different generation has a different way that they look at things. For a long time, for us as as a millennial, as I was really getting into social media, it was a lot of long form. People started looking at YouTube. YouTube was the thing to watch. You wouldn't even Google anymore. You would just go to YouTube and look it up. And then it felt like as we progressed, things became more and more short form. And you saw smaller clips of people, and our attention spans got a little shorter. We were digesting a lot more information, and now it seems like we're digesting at an even higher digital level, right? Because like we're removing the person out of it, and now it's like the personality or the brand of the person. And so all these things, all this transformation is really interesting, and you've seen it obviously on a digital stage, but also you are someone who is in LA, right? And so you've seen it in a physical stage as well. How do you see that transformation of this introduction into the influencer era? How did you see it really impact LA in person?
Yeah, I know. I feel like it's such a unique perspective. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people that I work with move into LA, and it's kind of rare that you meet people that are like born and raised. And so I think that I'm like a zillennial. I'm 29 now. So I was kind of on the cusp of that. So by the time I was in like middle school and high school, I felt like YouTubers were somewhat legitimate in like in LA already. But what I will say is, as I've become an adult, and I would say obviously COVID impacted this, I actually think that LA isn't as central anymore. I don't think it has the same gravitational pull that it did. Obviously, it's great for collaborations if you're that type of creator, but like, I always tell people like Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTuber in the world and he never moved out of his hometown in North Carolina. Like people are like, I'll never make it unless I'm in here or here. And I'm like, no, like you can. It's so, yeah, I think if anything, I feel that obviously I'm LA for life, but I do think that it doesn't have that same pull because anyone can get famous from anywhere, which is a good thing for, diversity on the internet and like anyone having a chance now.
I think that's a very interesting shift to call out, especially now that there's so many other platforms and ways that social media creators are coming about. I think, LinkedIn, Substack, it's not just even video content anymore, it's podcasts all across the board. What would you say is your favorite way to communicate with your audience? Because you're on Substack, you're on TikTok. How do you feel the best way to connect with those in your community?
I would say I love TikTok and I not only will be sad if it's gone just because I mean I don't think it's actually going to be gone, but that's a story for another day. But I feel that TikTok is so good at like you post a video and I do think that the algorithm is really good at finding the people that would be interested in that video, and people don't like the way I think of how people use TikTok is it's almost like kind of like Reddit where they don't just watch a video, people will watch the video while simultaneously reading comments. Whereas a YouTube video, people might actually put the YouTube video on their TV and never see any of the comments. So TikTok has a very conversational style that I think Instagram and YouTube don't have. It does, but not the same way. Like TikTok's best feature is that the video can keep playing while the comments are in like the 3/4 of the videos. You're like scrolling through the comments. So I would say my favorite is to connect to because TikTok is basically, I call it the litmus test. If I'm scripting out a podcast episode, I'll go to TikTok first. I'll post like 3 or 4 topics, and then I'll see which one people are commenting the most on and which one's the most polarizing. Like if there's no right or wrong answer, if I feel like there's an interesting gray area to explore, then I'll bring that to the podcast. But TikTok's always the like first one that I'll try things with my audience to see where they're at.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Like you're throwing out some dimes here. I appreciate it. You're giving us some free games. So
yeah, thank you.
yeah, no, I think there's a lot of meaning behind that, and I don't think people really realize what it's really like. I mean, when I think about content that you can just push out and engage with people consistently, like I think about applications or mediums like TikTok, or I think a really good one that has really stuck to Gen Z is, it started with us and then died down and then has become reinvented as Snapchat.
Yes.
Yes, Snapchat is huge. You are able to connect with people at such a high level because what I've realized, like as I'm very big, and I would say like I'm very focused on Instagram, and I feel like in all honesty, I want to try to diversify a little bit and focus on other mediums. And I think so. Right before this, funny enough, I was having a conversation with one of the partnership people at Substack. And told them that we were about to have a conversation with you as well. And she said, "Yeah, I love her content and all that good stuff." Substack has become a really big one. But all in all, like there are so many cool mediums that allow you to communicate in so many different ways. And with Snapchat, it's a way to get really in depth, talk about your entire day. You can post 200 stories in a day and someone will make it all the way through them. Whereas like Instagram, you go over 5 and people are skipping, right? And then you have Substack, which I'm just realizing how elaborate Substack is. You have, I always thought it was just like a blogging tool. And it's so much more. You now have like live videos. You can post your videos, you can have subscriptions. There's so many different levels to it. And so I do think it's really cool meeting your community where it aligns and you can get really in depth. And I think TikTok is one of those where you can just post something because it's on your mind and it's a 10-second, like, hey, this is something that happened. And people will be like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing. And they'll start sending it to everyone. So I love the ability to communicate that way on TikTok.
Yes, it's like far reaching. And then the other ones are where you can like really dive deep.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, with that being said, obviously you've seen the evolution of a lot of these social media mediums as it came along. When you initially started out and you were working with, Famous Birthdays and BuzzFeed, like what was your focus at that time in terms of social media?
Yeah, no, so mine is so unique, like in that I was hired at Famous Birthdays to do marketing, but then it was like to run their TikTok, which wasn't like a thing back then. I remember when I started the job, because this is such a throwback. It was like when videos on TikTok could only be 15 seconds and they had just rebranded the name from Musical.ly. So this goes so throwback. And like, I remember thinking that I would never get hired anywhere else because if I didn't have Instagram or Twitter or YouTube on my resume, like I was just going to be shut out. And I remember even someone kind of saying to me like, well, TikTok's just like a kid's app. Like no one's going to take you seriously. Like, and I am so glad that I stuck with it because I kind of believed in the vision of Evan, the founder, and where he was headed with it. And thank God I did because it was like, because there's one other brand that was on TikTok back then, which was called Flight House. And only Flight House and Famous Birthdays were the only people interviewing TikTokers. So our videos were doing numbers on like YouTube and stuff because no one else was talking to like Charlie D'Amelio and Addison Rae at that time. So I've always been on TikTok, but that was kind of my specialty. But I was always very like so adamant though when I was at my different jobs and even as I started growing my own socials is I was like, don't call me a TikTok expert because platforms come and go. And I was like, I don't want to be gone when TikTok's gone, like, or things trend. Like, you don't want to be a Tumblr expert or else you'd be out of a job now. Like, no offense to Tumblr. I just mean like, it's not, So I feel that I was really specialized on TikTok, and I got lucky that Instagram, YouTube, and every other platform launched their version of TikTok because I was like the right person at the right place at the right time to lead this big brand into what that was going to look like.
The creators that I talk to as well, we always recommend diversifying your platforms because you never know what's going to happen. If there's going to be a law that bans an app, or if something happens and creators and your audience is moving off that app. So what kind of advice would you give to other creators who might be really specialized or really experts at one platform to get them to start testing content on other platforms?
Yes, I think that obviously the number one thing is like, and I guess that kind of applies to later, is like so much of making content is not the whimsical, creative, like, oh my God, I had an epiphany today that I'm going to film. So much of being a content creator is like 90% the boring stuff, like downloading videos, uploading them here, like, tailoring it to different platforms, like blasting your content everywhere, which feels tedious, but like you have to do it to like grow on other platforms. And then also, I would say this is like more, I'm like so into astrology. I'm such an Aquarius, but I'm so like, I tell people when they ask me, I get a lot of people that reach out and they're like, how do I get my foot in the door? Kind of like what you ended up doing. And I'm like, be the person who's willing to like try the new thing first. Like, you're going to fail. You're going to fail so many times. But if it's the new thing, like, that's kind of okay. You're kind of like the cowboy going into the Wild West, and then you're coming back and like telling them like what works, what doesn't. That's kind of why I'm on Substack now. And like, I love their team. I love working with them because I mean, they've been around for 7 years, but they're kind of starting to have their tipping point. So it's not like, it's still an app that everyone is figuring out. So like, if I fail and I'm like awful at it, like, that's okay because like we're all figuring out where the platform's headed. So yeah, I say it's two things. Yeah, it's the tedious stuff. Like, you can't always just be whimsical and creative. Like, that's important, but you have to then take that content and blast it everywhere. And then like the other thing, yeah, is just being willing to take risks when no one else is, because that's usually how you push yourself into the new thing before everyone else gets there. There's like a book called Blue Ocean Strategy that's about that. Yeah, they explain it better.
Yeah, very cool. That is a good way to kind of look at things. I do think, fail fast, fail forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're okay with being the one that messes up, if you're okay with the errors, you're, eventually bound to land on something. And if there isn't much experience around you, there are more, I'm not saying do it for the wows, but there essentially are more wows when you figure something out.
Yes.
Yeah. So it does definitely give a solid basis to it. And you've spoken a lot, we've been talking about what social media is, how you've gotten into it, where you're focusing your energy. Those things are amazing. But I know for a lot of creators, the conversation then comes to, all right, how do I make a living out of this? Right. And so I guess we'll transition a little bit to that. And, you've worked with Later before, which is why I was, very fortunate to get your contact. And that is, an amazing part about all this collaboration through the influencer marketing universe. And you worked on a campaign with us, the Instax Google campaign. And so that is just the initial parts of it. And I want to talk a little bit about just like how that started to unfold, but also just like your overall like brand associations and brand partnerships and outlook. So let's start with the Instax one. How was that for you? How did it start and how did it, end?
Yeah, no, it's so funny because I had put on my vision board the year before that I really wanted to work with Google Pixel, which was like the duo kind of brand that it was the Instax and like Google Pixel. And I think that that one came about because I had really positioned myself as like more of an authority in the creator space, and creators come to me to know what platforms I'm using, what devices I'm using, and things like that. And so it really kind of aligned. Like, I always say, like, I don't have the biggest audience, but I have like your favorite creator like probably is in some way paying attention to, if not following me, at least some of the advice because I talk about marketing. That's kind of who follows me. And so that has really helped me land a lot of brand deals, is just the kind of people that are interested in my content. They're the tastemakers. Like I always say, I'm like, I'm not the talented one, like moving the needle all the time, but like the people that are, like, I promise you, they're going to watch my video. And so that really helped me. Yeah, it was more so just being like an authority in that space that landed that deal. And it's funny because I still have that Instax printer and like the Google Pixel, and I'm at a wedding and I'm like making them a scrapbook using the things that, like, I love using it. Like I make like little scrapbooks
Yeah.
for people when I go to events using the things that they gave me for that brand deal.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. It's funny because I remember like maybe I don't know, maybe I think it was like January or December. So when the conversation initially started, and Michaela, who's on our side, who works with a lot of the partnerships, reached out to me. She's like, "Hey, I have this awesome creator. I think you should have on the podcast." Yeah,
Oh
right.
my God.
And she's like,
Thanks,
Yeah.
Michaela.
Yeah, and so that was when the kind of like the inception of the idea, was coming to vision, and everything was really working itself out. And so once everything came out, I was like, all right, cool, connect us again. I started talking to your team, and then we needed to take a little bit of time, and you were really busy, which, by the way, I do want to talk a little bit about the busy month, right? Because if you were busy, that means you were doing a lot of work, and we'd love to know what you were focusing on. But keeping up with it, it was really cool to see what that journey was. Me hearing about who you were, this brand partnership coming out, seeing what it created, and then obviously us getting an opportunity to talk here. But within that timeline, you had a very busy April, right? And so I'd love to just give you the floor to talk a little bit about what was going on in that time, what brand you were working with, if you were allowed to speak to that,
Yeah.
and what you were focusing on as a creator.
Yes. No, yeah. Thank you for that question. I had the craziest April in the best way. I started out because I went to the White Lotus Hotel, which was like so insane. I went with HBO Max. And yeah, so yeah, they like rented out a Four Seasons for like 4 days, I think. And we got to go there, and like half of the cast was there. So like you'd be getting like coffee downstairs, and like
Wow.
Patrick Schwarzenegger would be getting like coffee like as well. Like it was insane. And we got to watch the finale of White Lotus with the cast, and then they came out and like did a panel for an hour, and then we had an after party with them. And that was really cool. And then, so that was like 4 days. And that, I would say, if you're a creator listening and you're like, how do I go to things like that? Literally just like I always tell people, I'm like, be annoying online, like post about the show, like tag HBO, be like, hey, sometimes I'll literally just shoot my shot and I'll be like, hey, like, I really want to do this thing. Like, I just like say what you want to do publicly. And even if it doesn't happen, like there's vulnerability in that audiences like. And then when it does happen, people will root you on. So yeah, I went to White Lotus, and then I went home for a day, did my laundry, and then I went to Coachella. I have my friends, they run Pop Crave, which is like a really big Twitter account. And they'll be like, Ariana Grande stuns like at VMAs or whatever. Like they're like Gen Z's version of like how they get their news about music artists. And so they're anonymous, but like I'm friends with the people that run it. And so they were going to Coachella, and they're like, hey, like, do you want to just come with us? Like we have extra passes and stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm so down. So yeah, so it was a busy month, and it was so great though. Yeah, I feel lucky as a creator that I get to do things like that.
I think it's so awesome how you talk about like speaking things into existence, like just shooting your shot, putting together a vision board. And it's incredible to see all of that coming true. But I guess obviously it sounds like you had an amazing April. Do you have anything that you're manifesting for the rest of the year that's super exciting for you?
Yeah, well, I guess that what I'm focused on now is that I'm going to Cannes Lion, which is like a marketing convention in June. It's like in the south of France. I went 2 years ago. Actually, I was working at BuzzFeed and I really loved that job. I stayed for as long as I could, but then the day I quit was on a Friday. Like I put in my 2 weeks. So then my last day was on a Friday, and Saturday morning I went to LAX and got on a flight to Cannes Lion, the south of France. And so it's this big marketing convention that's like once a year. And it's like the biggest like CMOs, like I nerd out about that kind of stuff. Like that's my Met Gala, is like who did like the like McDonald's Super Bowl commercial. Like that to me is so interesting. So it's all of these people in this like tropical French Riviera for a week. And all of the brands bring out like the big guns because they're all kind of trying to like impress each other. So like they have this thing like Pinterest Beach, and like you can go and like get like a tattoo. Like it's insane, like a real tattoo. It's so insane. And so I am so lucky enough that I get to go back this year and do some panels, and I'll be there for a week, and then I'll just be traveling Europe till July. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. And then just more music festivals. I get to go to Outside Lands with Outside Lands as a creator this year. So yeah, it'll be a lot going on, but I always tell myself it's good to be busy, even though I'm stressed.
Yeah. Honestly, it's the truth. And it's funny. So Later is also going to Cannes.
Oh my God. Let me know if you guys have a booth. I'll be there.
Oh, 100%. We'll figure everything out.
Yes.
We're trying to figure out, like you said, the honesty of the matter is everyone's trying to impress each other.
Yes. So, it's very much like, look how cool I am.
Yes. Right. And so we have some ideas right now, but we are still trying to figure out how to make them even bigger. So,
yeah, that's the place to do it. Yeah.
Yes. So once we do, we'll definitely let you know. I know that we're definitely going to do some creator and brand dinners. Those are the light events where we actually get an opportunity to talk. Because I mean, it's really cool to be on a helicopter, but you're not doing much marketing and networking on helicopters.
There's no Wi-Fi connection on a helicopter. Like we're just doing it to show off. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And so we're going to do some low key stuff as well.
Okay.
So I'll reach out to you about that stuff. And I think you being someone who is speaking at Cannes it's a pretty big deal, right? Because Cannes is a huge thing. Like you said, when you left BuzzFeed, like that was where you wanted to go. You geek out on CMOs. It's a big deal to you. For someone to get an opportunity like that, what does that take?
Oh my God. Yeah. So I got really lucky, but I'll give advice to how someone can get something like that. I've always been very lucky in that the people that took me under their wings, I will say this industry is also very who's who, who do you know kind of thing. And I never knew that going into it. And so I was always really lucky in that my content just struck a chord with the right people who reached out and wanted me to be a part of their teams. And so when I went the first year, it was my talent agency, but they manage hundreds of creators. And I was just so lucky that the people at the top of the agency that year were fans of my content. And they're like, let's bring Coco because she talks about marketing. So that was something that I got lucky with. But I will say that if you're a creator and you want to go to these things, one, look at who's going. So other creators going this year are Brand Flakes, Girl Boss Town, obsessed with her, Colin and Samir podcast, Kai Cenat, the streamer. So what are they doing? Look at them. And then also just if you're a creator, just shoot your shot too, because I think that I basically was just saying online, I want to go again. And then, the right people reached out and were like, hey, we're planning this, whatever. So I'm just annoying online, and then it just happens because I'm like, hi, can I go? But honestly, yeah. So just if you want to go to these things, one, you also, I will say it's good to be an authority in your space. The reason Brand Flakes is going is because he's a lifestyle creator, but he'll talk about his salary. He'll talk about how he gets brand deals. He'll talk about analytics. So that puts him as an authority. So if you want to do panels and stuff, you have to kind of be an authority, or you have to be the best in your niche, which that example would be Kai Cenat for Twitch streaming.
That is amazing. I'm glad that you segued into being an authority.
Yes.
Right? Because I think that could definitely set us up for a part of the conversation that could be really important for people to hear. So we don't want to open up your entire, tax bracket and all that good stuff, but we do want to touch on a few things, right? I mean, for me as a creator, last year was a so-so year. I think throughout the entire year, I think I made like 80,000 as a creator.
Okay.
Right. And then this year, focusing a lot more after having, I would say a lot more content at the end of last year. Also having the podcast, which showed that I was consistent with my content, had long form, short form, kind of diversifying within my content as well. I've been really fortunate, like to start this year for the first 4 months or so, I've signed contracts to hit about 150K for Q1 already. Right.
Wow.
And so that's like
Congrats.
massive for me.
Yeah.
Right. But there were tiny little changes that I had to make along the way. I had to, stop treating my page as just like a billboard and
Mm.
have to treat it more like, a home for my community. And then the ads came along, right? It's funny how that thing goes. When you focus
Yeah.
less on that, you manifest it, right? When you're just
Mhm.
living your life, but saying you hope these things come, they end up coming. So I think that was big for me. So I'd love to kind of just open the floor up to you as well and just see what were the biggest things that you had to do to really make changes to really start receiving opportunities like this. And then tell us about how much you made on your first brand deal and what you spent it on.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm like, I'll talk about my first brand deal. No, I know I'm like trying how to not be uncouth, but like, I appreciate the transparency though. I would say that the way that I'm honestly, for me specifically, the most brand deals that I get is there's so much money in like movies and TV shows. Like when I started just making videos where I would react to like, oh, this trailer came out or whatever, that's where a lot of my brand deals came from. And so that was a change I made. But also, I agree with you. Like, one of my favorite quotes is from this show, Lost. So throwback. But like in the first episode, one of the ladies loses her engagement ring on the beach after they get stranded. And one of the guys says to her, he's like, the best way to find something that's lost is to stop looking for it. And so I kind of agree with that. Like I probably made, usually people say quarter 4, like the holidays is when creators make the most money. And I didn't make the most money quarter 4. Like I was like, what's wrong with me? Like I'm broken, whatever. And then quarter 1, it was like insane. Like I was like, oh, this is crazy. And so, yeah, I would say that for me, when I started leaning into entertainment stuff, I know there's so much money in like makeup and food, but it's just not really what I do. Like I don't know how, like I don't know how to cook. I don't really have a desire to learn. So I'm like, I'm leaving so much money on the table, but that's just not me, you know? So, yeah. But, my first brand deal was Urban Decay. It was a makeup. So it was a makeup brand. That's funny. That's my first brand deal. I remember I think I was in like New York City when I posted it. And I think it was like $7,000, which to me at the time was like, oh my God, this is like 3 months of working. And I think I probably paid off my like 2 credit cards or something. And I was like, financial freedom. So yeah, that was my first brand deal. And then, yeah, that was, I get so like awkward when I talk about money, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a touchy subject. I think that's one thing that everyone should know. So this is what I think our 43rd episode.
Wow.
Right. And I did not mention anything about the money that I made as a creator until like our 40th episode.
Oh my God.
Right.
So we're getting the exclusive on number 43. No, just kidding. New info.
Right. It takes a long time, I think, to build that level of comfort to be able to talk about it. Because like speaking about money openly, it's interesting. It is, it's almost taboo. Right. I feel like even when you think about it in a sense of your close circles, right?
Yeah.
I have friends that I can talk to about like great opportunities that I've received, and I know that they'll be excited for me. And then I have friends who are near and dear, and we're all in a group chat and we all love each other, but I can't put how much money I made on something in there because I'm afraid that it'll feel like I'm either showing off or, you know what I mean? So the money subject is a really tough one. And so you do have to understand there are some interesting ways that people look at it, but ultimately information and transparency is such a big deal to everyone. And it's just like, I love the people who go around and ask like, how much do you make? What do you do? You know what I'm saying? Because it's destigmatizing that and making everyone feel comfortable just being like, okay, this is what I do. And I'm telling you because maybe one, I'm happy about it, or two, I want to do better, or whatever the case. But here's the
Mhm.
information, do with it what you will.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I
Yeah.
think there's like intersectionalism there too, where I do feel like, not in a bad way, but I've even had examples where it's not their fault, like no hate to them. It's just like white
Hmm.
male influencers get paid dummy money for things that I'm like, wait, what? Like you got like that much money for like, and it's again, not their fault. It's just intersectionalism. It's just different things that are happening. And when people are more transparent, I think it kind of evens the playing field because then people know what to ask for who might not, who might have been told by society that they aren't supposed to ask for that.
Yeah, that is so huge. And you start to realize that, like,
Mm-hmm.
as a creator myself, I remember doing a deal where like I remember pushing back and getting like 6,500 out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I think it was like 2 reels syndicated across my Instagram and my TikTok. And then I talked to another creator friend of mine who does fit the demographic of white
Yeah.
male. And like you said, it's not his
Not
fault
their
at
fault.
all.
Yeah,
It just so
yeah, yeah.
at all. It just so happened to be what it was. And I think he was making like 14,000.
Damn.
Right. Yeah. And so I do think that breaking down the barriers and letting everybody know what's going on within this world, it's really important in pushing the needle forward and letting everybody know what their value is. Right.
Yeah.
Because even in terms of like an audience and following and an engagement, I actually had higher numbers in
Mm-hmm.
that sense,
I
right? And
assumed.
so it is,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's important. I think, and I'm glad we're talking about it a little bit, but I also think it is important to protect your peace and protect your privacy and the
Mm-hmm.
things that matter to you, and making sure that you don't give away everything if it'll make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know. Cause
Yeah.
there's that one quote that's like, people always think they're either making too much or too little. Like no one's ever like,
Mhm.
I'm at a good amount. So like anytime I'm talking to someone, I'm like, this person's either going to think I'm like broke as a joke or like I'm going to be uncouth if I say how much I make. So you just never know. Like, it's kind of the audience too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no playbook that is given to
Yeah.
creators or anyone in any industry of exactly what you should be making. Like if you're getting underpaid, if you might be getting overpaid, or if you're exactly where you need to be. But I think something that's really challenging too, especially in the creator industry, is that sometimes it's hard. No one wants to be the one to give a number first. I think sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's hard sometimes, like you guys were saying with the examples, a brand will come to you. It's like, this is the offer, take it or leave it. But I think a lot of
Yeah.
creators, especially early in their content creation journeys, struggle with defining their worth and what to place a reel at or a TikTok at. Do you have any advice for creators who might be struggling to put rates to their content?
Yeah. So, number one, like one of the best pieces of advice I got is obviously this is different scale wise, but like if you ever feel bad asking for money for a brand deal, what you have to think about is also like you're not quoting them the same amount, but like when a brand decides to go to, 10 influencers for a brand deal instead of running a commercial during American Idol, it like you can feel awkward asking them for like $5,000, but think about how much they would have had to charge to do a commercial, to pay a director, a writer, location, craft services, actors, casting, editing, syndicating it on the commercial space. That's 6 figures. And so, yes, you might feel awkward and obviously like understand kind of your audience and where you think it lies. But like they're going to influencers because they're cutting those costs when it comes to producing a commercial. And so that was always helpful to me. And also, obviously, it's not something like you can always control if you're smaller. You have to wait until you find the right team. But having a good manager, I guess some people call them agents. Mine is a manager. He's so good because he can be a shark in a way that I can't. And he also has other clients. So like he knows based on what every like dozens of other people are getting, like he kind of knows the number, whereas me, I might not know what to ask for a certain thing because I don't have the context of what 10 other creators made for a similar brand deal a week ago. um but yeah, so the best advice though, I ever got was like, don't feel bad quoting something because you have to understand what they would be paying to make a commercial. And like yours is only going to be like 2% of that. But like you're not asking for a lot if you put it in that context.
Yeah, I love looking at it that way. I remember, I think creators, we have moments where we struggle with our, maybe our performance on certain campaigns or whatever the case may be, right? And I had a recent campaign that it didn't perform the way that I wanted it to, but I thought about the company that was tied to it and what they usually spend.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah, right. Because based off of their ideal customers, their profile, where they're blasting their stuff, they have Super Bowl commercials, all this and all that. I know what it costs to put a Super Bowl commercial up, right? It's not just about all the components that you paid for, but it's also the massive ad space, It's like thinking about that, it made me feel kind of like reinvigorated in the sense of like, hey, like you did it, you put time and consideration into your content. You really planned around it. And sometimes you swing and you hit a home run, and sometimes you swing 3 times and you strike out.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's a part of life. It's a part of the journey. It's a part of the creator journey. And so it's okay to understand that you have this value, and whether you're going to hit those numbers all the time, the most important thing is you put your consideration into it. You plan it out. You make sure that you are being actionable about the things that matter and matter to your audience. And then from there, you have to let the internet do the rest.
Yes. And that's why those paid partnership codes exist. Like where the brand, if they were really disappointed, like obviously you have to work it into the contract before, but like, that's why they can boost it out to more people. But like, if they don't do that either, it's like, obviously they think that they like got that value from it regardless. Yeah. And the internet's forever. So it's like something might not perform good the first 6 months. I've had videos pick up a year later, as long as it's evergreen. It's not like a commercial where it'll be syndicated for 2 weeks, then it comes off or whatever, or a billboard, they put the next one up. So I always think that too. I'm like, you're playing the long game as a creator as well. And they're also banking on that. As your star rises, their ad placements with you will rise over time.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head, and I think that's so reassuring to a lot of creators. I think that's a really important thing to note. Is like, I have had an ad that did pretty well when it came out, and then like a month later, I don't know, someone either found it, or I don't know who found it. I don't know if something popped up on the internet or ended up on Reddit or something, and then all of a sudden there's so much more. Oh my god! Yeah, right. Reddit is the scariest place on earth for creators, by the way. I know you know this.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I don't even, like, if I look up something else and it gives me a Reddit link, I'm still like, no.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. But yeah.
But with that, I know we've spoken a lot about, social media as a whole, and you've been just so graceful in delivering the messages that you have. I'd love to just talk a little bit more about some of the personal things to you and who you are. Just looking at your page is obviously some things that you really care about. And I know during the time of the LA fires, as an LA native, it was something that was really important to you. And I think I've really, really gained a lot of respect from looking at it, because it seemed like you were just pouring all of your heart and soul into making sure that you could spread out your arms and spread out your help as vastly as possible. So, I just wanted to take a moment to say, thank you for that. I think that's really beautiful and really inspirational, but also just give you a quick minute to just talk a little bit about how that journey was, and, how it felt going through that, and what you think you were able to accomplish, and how you want to encourage others to use their platform for good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I know when I was reading over the questions, I'm like, wow, they did so much research that they even knew that. But yeah, so when the LA fires happened, I kind of had a feeling it was going to be bad, because we had just never had multiple fires in 2 locations kind of closing in on the city. And, but yeah, I knew people who had lost homes in both places that burned down, and I'd stood in homes that like no longer existed. And so that was really hard. And then also I don't think resentment is the right word, but I did feel a little bit of a sting, like seeing obviously I wanted people to flee and get to safety. Like I would never be down on someone for that. But I remember being like, seeing all of these creators leave the city, and I'm like, damn, like I don't have anywhere to go. Like I can't just get on a flight and like leave. Like this is my home. Like every generationally, both sides of the family, like everyone's in LA. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm here, so I might as well do something with this. And so I was able to raise, I really didn't want to just do money too. So I was volunteering I was just calling YMCAs in the area and I'm like, hey, like, do you need anyone today? So I got to go to a YMCA closest to one of the fires. And then I was posting about it to my social media. And so many people showed up the next morning that before they even opened, they had to turn away like dozens of people that lined up around the block just to help, which was really cool. It was a good problem to have that they didn't need any more help. And then in terms of money, like, yeah, I was raising money for a family that I personally knew whose home I had been in that burned down. And then Gen Z's so brilliant. So there was this girl who was posting and she was going on anyone who on TikTok was geotagging Alta, oh my God, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but one of the areas. And so I had tagged that location in one of my videos raising money. And then I just saw her comment on my thing. She's like, hi, my grandparents' house burned down. They have a GoFundMe. And she was commenting that on everyone's videos. So I went to her profile. I looked at the link and it's this older couple. They only had 4 donations. And then I was the 5th donation. So they were trying to raise money and they'd only raised like $120. And their goal was $5,000. I was like, it's so dystopian that like your survival is like how viral you can go. So I just posted a video. Yeah. So I found this older couple that only had 4 donations at the time. And I posted it to my socials. And then my audience raised like $60,000 for them in like 24 hours, which was so cool. The girl was like messaging me. She's like, I'm in a grocery store and we just saw the number going up and I'm crying. And like, that was really cool. And then over the span of 3 different families, we raised like over $130,000, which was really cool. And then also I was volunteering. So the reason I felt about like strongly, obviously, is like I just didn't have anywhere else to go. Like I was like, I'm in LA. Like, so many people come here to reap the rewards of being in the city. But like when the going gets tough, like I think you also have to help those that need it. And also obviously stay safe. But yeah, that was a long tangent, but yeah.
I think it's so incredible, but that was the outlook you took because like you said, you have to protect yourself. You have to do what's best for you. And you have that option to be able to go somewhere, reconnect with family that might be in a different state. But I think it's so powerful where, you probably could have gone on vacation or just left, but I think you're such a testament to really what social media can be. And it was such an interesting point that you brought up about that family where maybe these older couples might not have the social media or know how to use it or have the reach, but really using your influence to get those kind of donations and really make a change for real people is such a powerful thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was cool to see. And also, sorry, I just have to add, I know we're getting to end. Like one other thing about that was really interesting on the social media side is like, I saw so many people at the time were mad at different like brands for going on brand trips at the time. And I was like, you guys, you're taking away from what I was like being in like boots on the ground, like helping families. I'm like, no one came into like the YMCA being like, God, I hope Tart doesn't go to like Bora Bora this week. Like I was like, you guys, like, but like it was an example of like the internet giving attention to something that I didn't think mattered. Like people were pissed at a makeup brand for like going on a brand trip that they planned 6 months ago versus like a family could only raise $80 for donations because like everyone was focusing the algorithm on something that I felt was a non-issue. So, but the internet's interesting how it works that way. And just my marketing brain was fascinated at like people being mad at something that I felt was taking up space that like didn't need to be discussed.
Wow. That's a really, really, really important take. I do feel like in times of chaos, people tend to look at external things that don't really focus on how to solve the problem.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I do feel like we have an issue with focusing on the problem because I feel like we get easily distracted, right? And then it becomes less about like what's happening and what we can do about it, more so how we can complain that somebody else isn't doing something about it or how they waited too long. It's like when a celebrity donates something, right? And you assume they have all this money, and they donate, I don't know, $100,000, and then people are like, well, why didn't they donate more money? And it's like, well, why didn't you donate more money?
Yes.
Right? Like, so it's a really big problem. I think we have as societies, we have a difficulty focusing on solving the problem, more so just like complaining about why the problem isn't solved.
Yes. It's like, and it's just low hanging fruit. Like, it's like, I'm going to go viral for saying the downfall of insert name here versus like, it's not that interesting and viral to be like, hey guys, here's some like links to help families. Like, people love the juiciness, but like, that's like, like it's a non-issue, but that was something I realized for the first time, like being boots on the ground of like a disaster. Whereas in the past, I might have fallen to being like, like get your picket, your pitchforks and like, let's go in the town square and yell at them. But that was the first time I was like, wait, this is crazy. Why are we mad at this? But sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that.
No, it's great. I think it's really important. I think it's important to mention, right? I think a thing that sucks about our society is we've rewarded negativity more than we have positivity. Right. And you are right. Like, people are more focused on your likelihood to go viral than they are like your desire to make an impact. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I think the statistics, I think it's like 3 times more or so. You're like 3 times more likelihood. You have 3 times more likelihood of going viral if you do something negative or put something out that people can talk about negatively than you would if you do something positively. And so we are rewarding the negativity and just creating this snowball effect that just keeps going. And so it's tough. You can't just like hope to spread it out into the entire world, but it's all about just like taking it on yourself to make sure that you are commenting on more positive things, liking more positive things, talking about more positive things, because it helps push the positive content forward. And hopefully it will reinstill in people's minds that maybe I should be more positive. But with that, I also wanted to speak to what I think is really important. I think as a human race, like I've always thought, when people ask like what the meaning of life is, for me, my thoughts are always, how can I in some way make an impact in the time that I'm here with the space that I have? And what I thought was really powerful about this part of the conversation we're having is like, when you think about the older couple, they've made as much of an impact that they probably could on their family members and the things around them, but there's a certain bit of or context of knowledge that they don't have that's relevant to the times that we're living in. And I thought what was really cool was that you applied the context and the knowledge of what you had in order to impact them as well. So it's almost this beautiful like feeder system of life where they've made the impact with what they knew and you impacted them with what you knew. So I don't know, beautiful circle of life.
Yes. And then eventually Gen Alpha kids will help us make Roblox characters when we're 80 or something. Yes. Yes.
Exactly. All right.
The circle of life.
Coco, we're about coming up to the end. We've just been yapping, and I actually love it when we're yapping because things are always going well. But there's just a little segment here where we do a little bit of a quick fire, a little bit of this and that. And so, I'll ask you this or that. You answer, you give a tiny bit of context, a sentence or two, and then we'll move on from there. Sound good to you?
Yes.
All right. So the first this or that is Instagram or TikTok for you. I think you've answered
TikTok.
It, but let's hear it.
Yeah, I love TikTok.
Yeah. Okay. And then would you rather prefer a reel or a carousel?
Ooh, like posting?
Posting.
Oh, probably a reel because it gets more reach right now. They're pushing those out like crazy.
Okay. All right. Well, you asked the question. So then I guess in that same vein, reel or carousel in order of viewing or seeing?
Oh, as a viewer, carousel. Yeah, I don't really watch reels. Just being transparent. Yeah. I'm like, I saw that on TikTok already. But no, as a viewer, I look at carousels. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one here, I'll give you another quick one, but would you rather be in story or on feed?
Feed. Yeah, feed. Because then it's up forever.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. And then do you have a favorite quote that you go by at all?
Yes, it's probably the one I said earlier. I literally quoted it to like my friends stay at the beach. Like the best way to find something that's lost is to stop looking for it. I think that's just so good. It applies to social media too. Like sometimes your best ideas are the ones that like you didn't even realize was an idea. Just, yeah. I love
it. Wow.
We both said I love it at the same time.
So in sync. In sync. Well, you know what? We have run up against our time. I want to make sure that Coco gets some time to go back to enjoy her Mexican lifestyle.
Yes.
Yes, right. So I wanted to take a moment to say thank you, Coco, for joining us today. I absolutely loved the conversation. It was splendid on all levels. And I also wanted to take a quick moment to thank you, Lauren, as well, for joining us. I think you were pleasant. You were delightful. You were a great co-host. So hopefully I can have you hop by and help me again. But thank you, everyone, today for joining. I'm going to pause really quick so I'm not talking over everyone. And I'm going to say, Lauren, do you have any last words for the audience?
I would just say there's so many key takeaways from Coco, but I think that last quote is so powerful. Whether you're looking on social media to grow your following or just looking for a sign from the universe, I think it'll come to you when you stop looking for it.
Lovely. And then Coco, do you have any last words for our audience?
Yeah, I would say always try the new thing before everyone else, whether it's Substack or streaming, whatever, like just fail before everyone else. So then you have the knowledge when the thing is ready to be front and center. Amazing.
Well, with that being said, we're going to call it a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this week on Beyond Influence. We will see you next week. And until then, bye-bye.